Today we're going to talk about cross-gender communication problems and some of the things that you can do to solve those problems. Men and women grow up in different cultures, and a result of this is we learn different lessons about appropriate adult behavior. And the way that we teach children about how to be appropriate adults is through the games that they play as children. Now, in general, boys grow up playing on teams, they compete, they get into conflict, they're aggressive, they learn how to win, and they learn how to lose. Boys also grow up and live their entire lives in hierarchies. There's always a coach, team captain, star players, average players, and bench warmers. And boys always know where they fall within that pecking order. Boys learn how to be a leader, to be a risk taker, and boys learn to focus on the goal line. The purpose of playing a game is not to make a bunch of friends, but to get to that goal line. Alternatively, girls typically grow up playing dolls in house with their best friend, one-on-one. Girls learn how to get along, to be nice, to avoid conflict, to share, be fair, and to focus on the process of how they play. You know, and it isn't that women aren't goal-oriented. What happens is, let's say an event, a problem occurs out here. What a man is more likely to do is to pull that inside, sort through his options, and then say, we should do X. What a woman is more likely to do is to take that problem, interact with other people to find the best solutions, and then say, we should do X. And a big difference in these two cultures is that although men grow up in hierarchical cultures, girls grow up in a culture where the power is always kept dead even. Girls can't tell each other what to do because of this power dead even culture, which is very strong. Now, as a result, what happens is you have this hierarchical culture of men, this flat culture of women, and the difference when they come together creates a ton of communication problems. Now, this is not about rights or wrongs or goods or bads, but differences that tend to be invisible to us. So today, we're going to change the rules. And we're going to do that first by looking at what invisible rules create the problems for us. And then we're going to look at 3 strategies for solving those problems. So let me invite you to a recent workshop where we dealt with some of these issues. So what I'd like to do is, now that we've talked a little bit about how the rules are different in these two cultures, I'd like to move into talking about it with respect to our case and applying it to a real life situation. So I'd like to look at Greg and Lisa. And as I mentioned, life is messy. And their situation in real life was very messy. And as we go through this, I'd like you to see if you can figure out what's driving their problems.
I sure got surprised on this hire. 9 months ago, when I had an opening for a project manager, I thought I had died and gone to heaven when I found Lisa Valdez. She graduated tops in her class, and I'd heard through the grapevine that she was a rising star with our competition, Power Systems. For the past couple years, PS hasn't done well in the market. And knowing that her growth potential there was limited, Lisa began to look elsewhere. She was upfront about this with her boss, Ann Green. In fact, even used Ann as a reference. When I spoke to Ann, it sounded like Lisa walked on water. She was able to create highly motivated teams to produce top-notch products.
I think I've made a major career mistake. I've always been good with science and numbers, and I graduated at the top of my class. For 5 years, I worked at Power Systems and became a project manager. I was extraordinarily proud of my teams who would pull together and create top-notch products. I was really moving up, getting more and more challenging work at PS. But unfortunately, the company had a couple of bad years, and it became clear that there was no place for me to grow. I talked with my boss, Ann Green, about it, and she said that as a manager, she wanted me to stay. But as a friend, she knew that my future would be better elsewhere.
Okay, this is the problem that has been set up for Greg and Lisa. They've started working together and things aren't working out real well. We're going to launch into talking specifically about some of the problems they're having, but let me just point out a couple things that happened in this first little part here. Notice how he starts out. I sure got surprised on this hire. And Lisa says, I think I've made a major career mistake. Can any of you see what's going on there? What's going on? She's blaming herself, and he's saying, who did this hire to me? Yeah, absolutely.